Today I'm going to teach you the bones of the foot, I'll give you some practical takeaways, and I'll give you some mnemonics so you actually remember this information later on. Hey, this is Anthony Davis with Shapeshift Wellness. This is a channel that uses evidence and research to explore the science of health so you can take your health into your own hands. If you like that sort of thing and you're new here, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell for notifications on future videos. All right, let's learn the anatomy of the foot. So first things first, I just want to put this into context. The reason why we're studying the foot is because all of your weight from your entire body, all up in here, goes down, gets distributed out into the hips, and then down into the foot. And so all of your weight goes into the feet. And whether your feet are smart or dumb, or if your feet are strong or weak, makes a difference between, for example, for people who are into movement, it makes the difference between graceful and ungraceful movement. Or in serious cases, it might make the difference between injury or no injury. So understanding a little bit about how the foot works is important. So let's start by looking at the foot. I've removed the tibia, by the way, which would be this bone right here. I've removed it so that you can see the whole foot and all of the bones in it. So first, let's start with the tarsals. So the tarsals are back here. And you know what? Before I do that, let's just give you an overview. We've got three general sets of bones. We've got a set of bones back here, and all of these are called the tarsals. And then in here, you have a sort of middle grouping of long bones, and those are called the metatarsals. And then at the end, we have the phalanges, which are just like little fingers, your toes. So the back is the tarsals, the middle is the metatarsals, M for middle, and the end is the phalanges, P, like this little piggy went to the market sort of thing. Now let's look at the tarsals, and I'll give you a mnemonic so that you remember them. There are several of the tarsal bones. So we have the talus, which is right here. That's the bone that the tibia sits on top of, and so all of your weight goes down into the talus first. Then you have the calcaneus, which is your heel bone, the navicular. There are three cuneiforms, a medial, an intermediate, and a lateral cuneiform. And then on the outside of the foot, and this is the outside of the foot versus the inside of the foot. And the inside of the foot is called middle or medial, middle, M for medial or middle. Okay, so the mnemonic to remember it is that tiger cubs need milk. So tiger cubs need milk. And that is T for talus, C for calcaneus, N for navicular, MIL for the medial, intermediate, and lateral cuneiforms, and then the cuboid is on the outside. Next, let's look at the, I gotta unselect that. Next, let's look at the phalanges. These are just little toes, and the only thing I want you to know about these is that there are three bones in each of the toes, here, 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 except for the big toe here. The big toe only has two bones in it. Next up, let's look at the medial longitudinal arch. So it's an important feature of the foot that we have the foot arranged in an arch shape. And that is that if we have a keystone in an arch right here, then we see that the arch is stabilized and it's a very strong structure. This is important because the weight comes down, it's distributed through the talus, goes back into your heel bone, but then it also travels forward along this arch and into the base of the big toe, and then down into the ground. And so if we are not strong there, if we are hypermobile there, if we do not have strength in our muscles there, then we're gonna have a bad time. One other feature that I'd like to point out with regards to the arch is that if we swing around to the side here, you can see that if here's the talus, and then in here we see that the first three cuneiforms here and the first three metatarsals here are sort of part of the same structure. So look at it here and you can see that all of this is part of the same sort of structure, because there's this division here where all of those three areas that I just pointed to sit on top of the lateral longitudinal arch, All I'm saying is that your foot is composed of two parts, inside and outside, and that the inside part, which is all of this, sits on top of the outside portion, which is all of this. Okay, which means that your weight gets distributed down into the talus and then it runs down into the big toe. All right, so that is super important. Fun fact, the first ray, so let's look at the first ray. So here is your first ray. We call it a first ray. That's just, if you want to look it up, if you want to learn more about it, it's a load-bearing, weight-bearing portion of the foot. As I've talked about, it's part of the medial longitudinal arch. And the first ray, it turns out, bears 40% of your body weight during normal standing. And that hypermobility may contribute to bunions and plantar fasciitis. So you can imagine that if there is hypermobility in this area here, that you might see that the foot travels outwards, that area travels outwards, and then you end up with hallux, valgus, or bunions. And then if you combine that with wearing shoes that are pointy like this, that drives the big toe inward, and that further contributes to having a foot that is shaped like shoes instead of, again, designing shoes that are shaped like feet. So it is important that we understand that the foot has an arch, that the weight is distributed down into the big toe, and that strength of the muscles, which we'll explore in another video in the future, that strength of the muscles that control that arch are going to be critical in foot stability, strength, coordination, etc. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something other than just the raw anatomy, although I hope you learned that as well. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.